Lemon Amiga presents a Playguide video review. Sit back and enjoy the show.
Hello there once again, welcome to another Lemon Amiga Playguide and review. This time we're checking out Tower of Babel. This was published by Rainbird and also Microprose in 1990. You can see it was started in 1988 and there is a long list of people there associated with the game, one of which isn't me, so let's put on our name into that bar and now we get a list of options. And one of those is to load and save a position. We can also view or update those high scores as well, all of which are default. Upgrade high score table, I think we can import high scores perhaps from another disk, and there's also a demo sequence as well, and we can restart the game from scratch. There's also a tower designer which we'll move on to a bit later on. Now you can see a demo sequence which shows us a random level in the game, perhaps an introductory level, and the camera will zoom in and out on one of the robots in this game, and I'm playing this on the O30 at the moment, and you can see how slowly this game performs even with an O30, jankily moving across the screen. So you can imagine what this was like on a triple O. I think this is CPU locked actually. I think this is the actual game speed that we're looking at, and I don't think it can move any more quickly than this. And you can also see a handy mouse pointer stuck on that screen, and also Tower of Babel planted in the middle of it as well. In this game we control 3 robots, so you can see there isn't much else we can do. Let's click on play game and we can play a standard game, a custom game or the tutorial. So before we go through into the game itself, let's play the tutorial. Your spiders are the lifts, your zapper, and of course it's going to go through all of the different things. So your zapper, this is written by Pete Cook. So at the beginning of every level it gives us up to 3 different robots, and this is the zapper that we're looking at the moment, and by clicking on those arrows we can change the camera angles internally, and by clicking on the compass points we can also change the camera angle externally as well. So in this one you can see the pusher and the grabber aren't available. And the thing about this guy, the zapper, is he can fire at various things. I don't think he can fire all of the enemies. In fact, that guy on the floor is just, I think, something to get in our way. I don't think we can actually blow that thing up. But the zapper, of course, blows things up on the level, and it's a bit like the Lost Vikings is this game. If you remember in the Lost Vikings, there was one guy with a sword, and he could go around beating things up, and that's basically this guy. And after you've done that, all you need to do is to get all the way to the exit point, and then that's level complete. So in the Lost Vikings there was a guy with a shield as well, and that can push things around and stop things and shield things. And then there was also a red guy who just jumped around collecting stuff, and in this game that's the grabber. So the grabber is defenseless. We'll have to basically defend that guy with all the other robots. The pusher, I think he can push things around like those clear blocks you can see on the screen, and then, well, he can't fire anything, so you're going to have to protect that robot as well. And the grabber, all he can do is collect things, of which there are, well, only a few things to collect in this game. By pressing the pause key, you can also see that there are a few pull down menus that we can select various things, and you can see that we can change different things and information throughout the game, and even the screen X and Y position as well. So those aren't always fixed, and we can change our view offset, view height as well, which can come in handy. You can have that set to very high, and that means hopefully, whoop, there it is, it's just a bit higher. So that gives us basically a human head view of where we're standing at the moment. And view distance, you can see normal, behind, far behind, and sights on and off. Well, sights aren't really helpful in this game. And the panel, you can have that as a pop-up panel, as a neon panel as well. That will change the panel at the bottom of the screen. So at the moment, what have I done? Well, I've blown up the flag, unfortunately, and I'm not really sure whether that was even necessary to do that, or whether we've just messed up that level. I think all we need to do is to collect or collide with the flag at the end of every level. And cameras allowed, mines don't destroy the floor, show the task. There is no task for this tower because I've already completed it. So I can abandon the tower or I can restart it. So that's how you basically do that tutorial level. You've got the zapper, and then what it will do is show us yet another random level. So we didn't complete that level, unfortunately, that's why it's still grey. Pushes, blockers, out grabbers and Klondikes. So we can take on the tutorial in any order, and that means, well, some of these it gives us information of what we need to do, some of them it doesn't. So with this one it's a grabber, and if we walk into those beams, unfortunately they'll blow us up. When that happens, it just says, sorry, the tower is not being completed. So some of these games can last seconds. What we need to do is collect, I think, 2 objects. One of them is on the far side of that elevated area that you can see, and the other one is, I think, pretty close by. So what we need to do, well, we can walk behind these zappers, or that panel that you can see in front of us is actually an elevator. And with the elevator you can press the up and down buttons, and that means that comes into operation, and that means we've got a bridge now. And the thing with these robots is we can only move them forwards. We can look left and right, and we can use the elevators, but all we can do is move them forwards at this stage, or fire if they've got a fire mechanism, of which only the zapper has. And if you press fire button with this robot, what will happen is it will collect something. As long as it's on the right line to us, we can simply collect it. And we don't have to be standing next to it, I don't think, to collect it. So is that the end, or is there something else to pick up? So you can see we can't fire at those laser droids, unfortunately, because those can only be destroyed with a zapper, and there it is all the way over there. So we're going to have to figure out now how to get over there, and every single one of these levels is a puzzle. And we can also program our robots, so if we write in a number forwards and then basically run that, and then that will move forward by that number of squares. That's 1, 2, and then the third one, and then you can see we can automatically activate the elevator once we're there. So if we know what to do, we can simply pre-program everything in advance. So the easiest thing to do, I think, would be to walk behind these guys, not particularly to walk out in front of them, because that would be a stupid thing to do. And I don't think that we can walk on this tile. No, we can't. And that just means it's an instant game over. So that was a bit of a waste of time, but at least you know how to solve that particular level. Wizards, watchers and fixed pushers. There's no task for this tower. So now, what do we have to do? Well, now we've got more than one robot. We've got the Zapper at the moment, and we've got all 3 robots on this level. It looks like there's a security tower there that we're going to have to avoid, and there are other things as well. And the level won't start moving until you move the first robot. And you can see I can't destroy any of these little ships or little things floating around. It reminds me of Star Wars. So we can't kill any of them, but we can kill, hopefully, the Zapper. So let's just maneuver ourselves block by block in this game onto an alignment with that. And it looks like we can't kill it unless we're perhaps facing it, not quite sure, but we should be able to zap it from here. It looks like we're being prevented from doing that. So what can we do? Well, the idea of this game is to look around it and see what is possible. And I'm not actually sure the objective of this particular level, whether we need to grab something or not, or perhaps just avoid all these enemies. So abandon that tower, yes. So there is definitely a method to this madness at some point, and some of these levels are harder than others. If we play the actual game itself, then we can start from the beginning of it, and that opens up the main game itself, the proper game. And you can see things are getting a bit more complex now in the main game. Now it gives us all 3 robots to handle, and it's our job to figure out what we're supposed to do on every level and then how to complete it. You can see some collectibles, they're known as Klondikes in the game. They've got a K on them, and that's basically money, or what passes for money in this game. So most times the objective is to collect those. By pre-programming our robot, it means we can remote view everything that's going on from a distance, and as long as we've programmed everything in to the letter, it should be possible to simply view everything that's going on and let that go on automatically. And you can see at the top of this particular bridge there are a number of grey panels. That means we can select any number of elevators to go up and down. And you can also see a nice starry background in the sky as well. And players who've played this game definitely said that it's got a great atmosphere. Sometimes it's a good idea to switch between different robots just to see what we're supposed to be doing, and sometimes we can view things from a different angle. But let's just get a little bit closer to this one this time. And again, we can't fire, I don't think. Maybe we only get a limited number of shots. So that thing's hopefully protected behind that barrier anyway, so hopefully we don't need to worry too much about that. And now that we've dropped this particular elevator, it should mean now that we can get everybody over to the other side. So let's move everybody around, and you can see, well, the grabber, oh, we're going to need the grabber. Well, let's get a move on, move that out of the way, and then we can move the zapper out of the way. And then the pusher, well, there is a block over there. I think we need to push that block away first of all, not quite sure. and sometimes you have to walk around the back of everybody just to get to where you're supposed to go. So let's try the pusher, and maybe that area is safe as long as that block is there, but if we use the pusher we can force that block out of the way. So I'm not sure whether that was a good idea or not, to be honest. And so let's see if we can grab anything from over here. Well, not quite sure whether we managed to complete that level or not. It's given us some score and it says tower completed. So maybe we did complete that tower after all. Absolutely no idea, but it says that we got some kind of retry bonus and we got a survivor bonus as well. So looks like we did it. The sacrifice. Collect 1 Klondike. I think these are still the training missions. I've no idea. Let's just see the sacrifice. So let's have a look. And everything's drawn in 3D obviously, so you're just going to have to get used to that. And the first thing to do is to orientate ourselves on that landscape so that we know where we are. We don't have a pusher, but we do have a zapper. And so there is something in front of us, whatever that is, let's just get rid of it. And I don't think it's possible to shoot our own robots, which is good. And now what? Well, let's just not move too hastily in case we're moving online in front of a zapper. And so what can we do from this particular point? It looks like we're up there on the tower. So there is an elevator directly in front of us, and so it is possible to remotely view from any angle and can view things from a distance. So let's move forwards, or at least as best we can. And stop, I think, just stops whatever we're running at the moment, and run out, I think that might move us forward until we can't move forwards anymore. I'm not quite sure. Run all definitely runs all of the commands, and clear will clear them as well. So you can see something went wrong on my particular commands list, and I'm not quite sure, but I don't think you can overwrite the commands, you can simply clear them. So that's us now on this elevator. It's great to see the planet in the background revolving around. And we've got a zapper. What can we do with that? Well, not much at the moment because there's a block in the way, and I'm not quite sure whether we need to push that block out of the way. And as we're moving, it's following us, so we'll probably need to get that K. So we'll probably need to zap it as we're walking, probably. Let's see. And that's now on there, but unfortunately I've just walked into the path of a gun that's blown us up. So whatever we did, we definitely did wrong. And walking into this gun, unfortunately, well, it doesn't shoot us, because these blocks you can see that I'm moving up towards now, the blocks will actually rebound their shots, and it will blow up the laser gun, so the laser guns will not fire if there's a block in front of them, and that's definitely a handy tip to remember. This is called the sacrifice, so that definitely gives you an idea of perhaps one of the things that you're meant to do in the game. You're supposed to get rid of this one. Unfortunately, you're going to have to sacrifice it, and so that's part of the game. You're going to have to figure this thing out level by level, and you can save it up. I think after every level you can quit back to that title screen and save it up, and that means that you can dip into this game whenever you like. But it doesn't come with much in the way of audio, unfortunately. And that's definitely a drawback. So what can we do? Well, we can't move in any other direction than this one, and if we try to move here it will simply block us. So we definitely need, let's see if we can run a bit quicker or something like that, and then maybe fire at that thing once we're on the green tile. Maybe that's a good idea, or, well, that would seem a good idea, but that thing is gonna, well, that's just blown us up again, so that's definitely not a good idea. But now we're stuck again, so some of these levels can be fairly obvious and some of them can be quite taxing, and this is just the tutorial that we're playing at the moment. And I have completed the tutorial, it's just that I'm struggling to remember how I did it. So there's no other alternative on this level now. All we can do is either restart it or abandon that tower. Death Valley. And that means that all this area here is going to be dangerous, and so we're going to have to perhaps use that block in front of us. Well, we can't move until that block gotten rid of, so let's push it. And hopefully we can push that thing, maybe we can even push that thing in front of us whilst we are safe from the enemies. So maybe we're supposed to push it down here. And as the enemies try to shoot it, unfortunately they'll shoot each other. And now hopefully all we need is the grabber to go and grab those items, and everybody's in our way, so we're going to have to move everybody out of our way first of all. And the zapper in this case I think is a red herring for this level. I don't think we're actually going to need it. You might wonder what Tower of Babel is all about and where that comes from. Is that in the Bible? Well, no, not specifically. And according to modern researchers, the Tower of Babel was basically a big city that extended in the Mesopotamian region up to the sky, and Babylon was basically the name of that city. So Babel is the Hebrew name for Babylon. We don't know exactly where Babylon is. It could be somewhere near Nineveh, or it could be somewhere near modern Baghdad. So we don't quite know, but the Tower of Babel was basically one of the 7 wonders of the world, the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. So that's basically where you get the Tower of Babel from. It wasn't really mentioned too much in the Bible, except for the Mesopotamians built a huge tower. And so it didn't fall down or anything like that, it was just built. So you might think that it's got a huge, great big significance, but really it hasn't. It's not really anything other than an impressive wonder of the world. So obviously the programmers of this game thought it was a wonder on the Amiga. This one contains a minefield, so we do get extra objects now slowly appearing on the screen, and I wonder if we can push those mines around. It doesn't help because the view is blocking us. But we can see that we definitely need to collect a Klondike all the way over there. So surely, well, one objective is to get everybody out of this corner first of all. So let's at least get on with doing that. And mines, what can you do about them? Well, we're going to find out. Maybe you can push them, maybe we can fire towards them. And there appears to be something down here. I'm not quite sure what it is because I can't actually see it. Ah, it's another robot. So, okay then, well, we still need, well, the zapper. Let's try the zapper. Let's try shooting them perhaps with the zapper first of all. And maybe we can rule that out as some possibility. And of course I'm blocking my own view, so I can't actually see if that's done anything, but no, we've now just blown up the zapper, which isn't too bad because there's only one mine between us and the mission objective, so maybe we can push it out of the way. I've no idea. So let's try the pusher. Let's keep the grabber over to one side, and if this plan doesn't work, the worst that can happen is the pusher will just blow up on the mine, and then the grabber can go along and grab what we need. So hopefully this plan doesn't have too many drawbacks. Unfortunately, if I stay adjacent to that mine or whatever it is going to blow up, and I don't think we can do anything about that unless we brave it and stand on there. So I don't think we've got too many options at this point except to carry on with plan A. Hopefully now that's all the mines cleared on the level. And the mini minefield puzzle, it's not really much of a puzzle when all it takes is basically sending everybody in there to get blown up. We'll see if this completes the level. When we complete the level we will get a jingle, and it's quite a memorable jingle. I've probably even heard that before somewhere. But we do get a jingle. That's one of the few audio cues that we'll get in the game, and that passes of course for music. Let's see if we can be brave and pre-program everything in so we don't have to worry about anything else, and let's see if that actually works. Then that's basically it. That's another one completed, so we get some more score. So this tower, set A or whatever it is, they're really racking off now. Cameras give the game away. Maze 1. Collect one Klondike and destroy one object. This definitely had me stumped for quite a while, and I don't think I'm going to get there on this particular playthrough. The camera definitely gives the game away. So there is definitely, that's the flag, so we're supposed to collect that Klondike and blow up the flag, I think, or something like that, and that's protected by a barrier, so it's pretty difficult to work out what we're supposed to do, and I definitely didn't manage to work it out on my own. I had to look up the long play footage on YouTube to find out where I was going wrong. So what can we do? Well, we can push that thing out of the way for a start. That's definitely one thing we can do. And then I think one of the guys is supposed to go all the way around to the other side of the map. From here, I'm not quite sure. And it can get pretty disorientating as well with all these huge blocks in front of us that we can't really see beyond. We can't see if we move forwards, we're probably going to get zapped. And it appears it's the flag that's in front of us, so that's okay. We don't know the coding team behind the game, and I presume it was Rainbird, and the design, well, it was designed by Chris Newcomb. Chris Newcomb and Pete Cook also converted Granny's Garden, that BBC Micro game, onto the Amiga in 1989. So that really pushed the boundaries of the Amiga, that Granny's Garden. And Chris Newcomb also went on to work on Gunship 2000 in 1993. The main coder was Pete Cook, and he also worked with Jeff Crammond in 1991 on Formula 1 Grand Prix, another 3D game. And he went on to Formula 1 Grand Prix 3 a bit later on. And Pete Cook, he created tons of ZX games, including Tau Ceti. Which is known as Academy, I think, on some of the conversions. So that's a 3D space game. These 3D graphics were co-created with Neil Galancy, and you might remember Neil designed and also coded and also created some of the sound effects for Walker for Psygnosis, so definitely Neil Galancy there with history on the Amiga. Amiga, you can see we're no nearer to figuring out what we're supposed to do, and this is definitely doing things by the book. So if you can do every single thing by the book, then it might even be possible to collect things. That's us grab the money now. So there's two things we need to work out. Do we need to blow up the flag, capture the flag, or do we need to blow up the Century robot, that laser gun thing? And I've absolutely no idea. And it looks like we seem to have blocked off our exit route. So I'm having to grasp at straws now trying to figure this out. So some levels are deceptively easy, and I'm not even sure whether you can shoot these things from behind or not with the zapper. But we're not going to get through that particular level on this particular playthrough. So usually on Lemon Amiga we try to champion the games that you've probably never even heard of before, and it would have been easy to cover a game that everybody's heard of but doesn't really need a play guide, and so instead I've chosen this that nobody's heard about but definitely needs a play guide. the hardest missions on this particular area is definitely this one. The lift is guarded. Here you can see the objectives. The only objective is to collect the Klondikes over on the other side of the flat area, and that's protected by all these guns. And there is a block there as well, so we're going to have to somehow get over there by getting onto that block square and getting up there and collecting those two things. So we can ignore the mine, that's not really going to bother us too much. But the only problem on this level is the time limit, because everything is massively time critical on this particular one. And you can see now we've got 110 seconds remaining, and I can tell you now for a fact that's not going to be enough to beat this level. Most of these scenarios are trial and error. It doesn't usually give us an obvious solution to get through them, but sometimes, well, you can see I'm walking backwards and forwards by mistake at the moment. I'm supposed to be using the elevator, but sometimes it walks backwards by mistake even though you're using the elevator key. So I can't do anything here because there's a block in the way, and I need to use the pusher to push that out of the way. So that gives us a clue of what we're supposed to be doing at the beginning of the level. Push that block out of the way. And now with 40 seconds remaining, 35 now, it's not really going to be possible to beat this level. And now we're out of time. And you might notice that if we complete a level, it goes green, and the red ones, I don't think we can access those levels until we've completed the green ones, so we can complete them in any order. But sometimes that will block off access to some things until we've completed those levels. I can't remember where I first came across this game. I think I was looking for 3D games for the series, and I can't really get enough 3D games, and so every series I like to include at least one of them, and I think for this series this is probably it, although we have got carrier command as well, and so the Amiga could have done amazing 3D. And definitely carrier command wasn't actually pushing the Amiga's frontiers when it came to that, and it's not exactly, you know, Robocop 3 in scope. They really did only put their foot in the water of 3D, and that's because they were hanging back and hanging on to that triple O CPU, the Motorola 68000 CPU, which came out I think 1982 or something like that. So by 1990, whenever this game came out, it was almost 10 years old, and yet people were still hanging on to it because most Amiga owners still had that basic stock requirement. Most of the magazines praised the gameplay and the atmosphere and the graphics. I can't really see how the graphics were so amazing, given the fact that these are just basic shaded polygons which look 3D. And definitely these are nowhere near as good 3D graphics as something like Mercenary 3 or something like that. But back in 1990, maybe these were terrific. And we're out of time all over again, so let's try a different level. Up and down and up and down. Destroy one enemy, destroy one Klondike. Okay, so this looks a lot easier. So let's do the first thing. Let's go up. And now let's check this level out. So it looks like we're supposed to get them both up onto that platform. And then we can walk across. One of them I think can get that Klondike. I'm not sure whether the zapper killing the Klondike is actually good enough to beat the level, so I think we're supposed to grab it. We've got a grabber there, but we're not actually going to be able to get across to it from here unless we go up with the pusher, and that should mean that there is at least an elevator across to it. So let's get off this elevator. And you can see something there, that's an enemy that we need to get rid of, I think. But, well, we're not really going to do much at this stage. And the pusher, well, that's there. I really need, I think, the grabber. Then again, the pusher is probably in the way of the grabber, so let's move the pusher out of the way, and then we can hopefully get there with the grabber. Part of this game is definitely shuffling everybody around, and that can be a bit boring, but still, and we've made a mistake again. Well, we can hopefully move things around. If I move the grabber to here, then it means I can move the pusher either forward or backwards. I'm going to need, well, perhaps if I even use this platform, maybe I can drop myself off, but then again, aren't I going to need the platform for the other one? Well, that's the pusher. Can I use that against this thing? Yes, I can. So that's one thing. And I'm trying to see what I'm supposed to be. Ah, that's better. So what is there? Well, there's an enemy floating around, but that's about it. So I think I'm supposed to kill that enemy with a zapper, and I'm supposed to get the money. So that push is no good. I need that platform. Let's move back to the top, and now get that out of the way. So does that mean, well, I can actually bring this down, and that should mean now that thing bouncing around, next time it bounces back we should be able to blow it up. That's that one done. Very, very easy at this stage. So you can see we're getting through them. The lift is guarded. Let's not worry too much about that. And the sacrifice we know. So Zapper to the rescue. Collect one Klondike. That's all we need to do. And so let's have a look. Let's get everybody ready. It looks like all we need to do is to get an elevator up there. That's the flag. And these things on the floor aren't going to do us too much harm. That's a barrier, so we might have to bring that down in order to kill something behind that barrier. Is that something that is going to kill us? I'm not quite sure. Well, we do know that sentry gun is in danger of blowing up 2 out of our 3 robots, unless we can get the zapper up there to take care of it. So that would seem our first priority. Let's walk around and let's see if we can find an elevator. And it's not looking like that way is going to be it. And I don't think we can get through these worms either, or whatever they might be. But maybe we can actually divert them some way and make them walk in another direction. Maybe if we walk down here, that will force the worm to walk past us, and maybe then we can sneak by it. That would seem an ideal thing to do. So Tower of Babel is definitely one of those games that requires patience and forethought and thinking about things. It's definitely not one of those games where you can simply march into it and destroy everything. And so once you know how to beat the levels, you probably not need to go back to them again. So it's great to have a save function, and there are tons and tons of levels in the game, so you're not really going to get bored playing it, I don't think. So whoever came up with this game is kind of, well, they either played too much Lost Vikings, or they were simply playing around with a 3D playground like this. And of course Minecraft and things like that, where simply moving blocks around, is common these days. But back in the day we really didn't get too many of these games, and it all started with games like Night Lore, and games where you could move around in an isometric 3D environment. Now the hard part, if I walk out in front of that guy, he's going to kill me. But I think we can stand the pusher in front of the laser, and that means it won't fire towards us. Or, well, let's just try to get it from the side. That's definitely one way to do it, so that's Zapper to the rescue. So that's the pusher. Do we need the pusher for anything? Well, I'm not sure. Let's just rise up anyway and let's check out that top deck. Looking at the scores for this game, the lowest score came from Amiga Action, who awarded this 73%. Amiga Computing gave this 77%. The Games Machine gave it 81%. Your Amiga awarded this 82%. The current Lemon Amiga score is also 82%. Powerplay gave this 86%. Amiga Joker gave it 88%. Datto gave it 90%. The Amiga gave it 93%. Ace gave it 93%. Joystick gave it 95%. Amiga Format gave this game Tower of Babel 95%. And Acar gave this the highest score with an incredible 98%, which is ridiculous. 98%. So that means that the average score for this game is somewhere around 8.5 out of 10. Let's manoeuvre our robots into a nice position, and now hopefully all we need to do is to grab that final Klondike to complete this mission. So before we continue with our panel of choices, I think this is the A game, or Group 00, so maybe we're still playing the tutorial at the moment, and we can't move on to the next batch until we've completed all of these. So we're almost through them now. The lift is guided, we'll have to come back to that. We've done 5% of the game, so that gives away how many levels there are, or just about. And so let's check out the tower designer. This is basically a construction set where we can build the levels of the tower. We can have up to 4 levels of the tower, denoted by the 1, 2, 3, 4 at the bottom of that screen. And so what we need to do is to lay platforms first of all, and then we can lay down things on top of them. The worms that we've seen, and hoppers, pushers, a reflector, and all these other things, so we can free draw onto the level. And what that will do is it will show us what that looks like in 3D on the screen on the left, and it will show us what it looks like in 2D on the screens on the bottom. So you can see all we need to do is to put some up and down elevators going to the different levels, and we can rotate things around and add different things and change the behaviour of the moon and things like that, and the effects in the game. So you can see story density, we can have that high story density, and we can change the moon compass heading, and we can change the moon type as well. So there's up to 6 different planets and moons that we can have. We can have that rotating clockwise and anti-clockwise. We can turn the meteor shower on, the lightning. So the sky fades, fade type A and B, and the bars, and we can even have tower patterns as well. So there is a lot to the game that isn't automatically there. We can now test that out. So that's the level that we've just built now. With the level editor, it took basically less than a minute. So if you want to design your own levels, it is possible with the game. And that's just an extra feature. They've actually included the level designer along with it. So what happened now? Well, now I went back to the internet and I looked up, unfortunately, the solutions to a couple of levels that I couldn't get through, and one of those was the magic roundabout. And that's pretty difficult. You need a block. You can see a block standing behind the pusher or the zapper, whatever it is, and that means that it won't get shot. And then you can put the pusher in front of it and it won't shoot, and then you can simply take the zapper up to the higher level and shoot this guy. So that was definitely a hard one to work out, and I had to look that up. So the magic roundabout, you definitely need to know the tactics to get through that. And so now the final one that we're stuck on, the lift is guarded. So I managed to get through all of these others, but I managed to not be able to get through the magic roundabout or the lift is guarded. So I've looked up the solution now. Let's see if I can put that solution into practice. It's a good job to get ready with whatever that you're supposed to do at the beginning, because on this level we've only got 160 seconds, and those seconds I don't think they're real time, and they seem to maybe tick down a bit quicker with the old 30, and maybe the walking is a bit quicker, I've no idea. But apparently what you're supposed to do is to use the end elevator, get ready with the zapper, and now with this one we've already worked out that we're supposed to push with the pusher using this end elevator. So let's just get down and do that. And also with the zapper as well, let's get ready and do that. And the zapper can fire, get rid of this one, which means the block that you can see can now be pushed backwards. So if we push now with this pusher, that moves this block out of the way, and I don't think you really need to move that too far out. And then by lining this one up with the central block in the maze, we can now push that out. That means we've got the elevator. So now by standing here means the elevator is now clear for the grabber. So it was as simple as that basically. And so some of these levels can be very deceptive, and I can imagine players will get frustrated trying to work out how to do some of these, and then they will give themselves a hearty pat on the back when they finally get it right. So it was really as simple as that, and we've still got over a minute until we're running out of time, so I won't worry too much about it. In fact, we've got so much time we could even pull the zapper around and blown up some more of these guns. It doesn't really matter. Let's just get on to the top level anyway, so as long as we avoid the mine up there we should be safe. I've definitely got respect for this game, more respect than I had before I tried it, and I think I played it for the very first time in 2024 or whenever this was recorded, so I've definitely got more respect for this than I ever did before. So you can see that's now game group 00 completed. So hopefully now we've done 8%, it means I can click on hopefully the next group, and it's not allowing me to progress until I've done that. So here we go, group 001 now. So we've got A, B and C left. We can go back but we can't go forwards, and so let's just try out the first level of this group number 1, the bridge. Destroy 2 objects. You would expect the levels to get trickier at this point, but again, if you know the solution or the trick to each level, then they're not really too difficult. What have we got? We've got a zapper and a grabber, and looks like we're standing in front of a switch. What does that actually do? Well, that lowers the platform remotely. So let's just do that. And then does that mean now, well, what happens if I move that back again? Does that rise? Okay, so everything rises up and falls. Okay then, so everything's risen up now, so it should mean we can get this zapper down at some point. Do we need to use this elevator? Or do we need to get over there? Let's just take a look down here. That's the wheel, so that's not going to do us any favours, so let's go back up there. So it's encouraging us now with switches and things on the levels, buttons that we can push and wheels that we can turn. So with every stage it's giving us something else new to think about. You might expect the levels to be hard, but there is nothing really hard about this particular level. And you can see lightning apparently flashing in the background as well. So if I walk up here and then I get one of the robots to lower now all of these barriers, does that mean, well, let's have a look, does that mean we can zap? Yes it does. We can just get these flags, so I presume that's all we need to do to beat the level, is to zap the flags. And I think the objectives are listed in kind of the bottom right corner, so we've got rid of one of the objectives. And that's 2 out of 2. It also gives us a rolling score depending on what we've already scored so far on the earlier levels. So, cause and effect. So it gives us 2 levels that we can choose from, all the rest are blocked off. So, back to the old Friesiernos, whatever that says. And now, what do we need to do? Well, we've got a zapper, and we've got laser guns. And if we move forwards, we're probably going to die. Pusher, no, we haven't got one of them, but we have got a grabber. And the grabber can actually use that button. So if we press the button, that means the laser guns are momentarily frozen. And I think they even change position or something like that when they aren't activated. So I think what we need to do is to leave the grabber here and simply use that button. And then we're going to have to get ready to fire at these things whilst they're deactivated, which means yet again it's time critical. So let's move forward, switch them off, and you can see they don't move up and down when they're switched off. Now if we press the button we can get through them, and it's probably a good idea to listen out for the sound effects as well on this particular level, and this definitely tells us and warns us when those things are coming back into action. And that's all we need to do on this level, get rid of those, and then once we've cleared all of them, that means the grabber can come along and grab that Klondike. So, thank you for viewing another Lemon Amiga play guide to this game that probably nobody's even heard about on the Amiga, and I hope this has at least given you the experience of it, even if this isn't your type of game. It's definitely one of those games where if you have the patience, maybe on a Sunday, it's definitely one of them that you can just dip into, complete a few levels and feel great. So, thank you.